Hi,
Oh
Raymond.
man. Hey,
You
Audra. Oh,
are you okay?
yeah, I've just been kind of dancing to the intro music.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got to get ready for the stream somehow.
It's the
So,
most danceable
yeah,
4 seconds out there, I'm telling you.
yeah, and we have you to blame for that.
Yeah, that's
So,
right. Blame me.
Grammy
The single
award-winning
Yes, that's right.
Audra Wolfman.
It is
So,
the single that, is gonna buy us all matching suits.
that's right.
Yeah.
So, Audra, I was over at my dad's yesterday. Okay, or a
Yeah.
couple days ago, we're listening to psychedelic music of the 60s on like some, radio station that's on your TV for free or something like that. You know how the boomers do.
Far out.
And
Okay.
the song In the Year 2525 came on. You remember this one?
I don't think I know this. Who did
No,
this one?
this is a hippie song. It's a lot like In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida or something like that. It's got and it's sort of like H.G. Wells' Time Machine if it were a hippie 60s song. And they first in the year 2525, this is going to happen.
Uh-huh.
And then in the year 55, and it just gets more, as they would say at the time, far out as you go on. Okay.
Indeed. Mhm.
But it got me thinking, what's Denver going to be like in the future? What's Fresno going to be like in the future?
Very good
Project
question.
200 years into the future, Audra. Fresno, California. What do you think?
It will be nothing but malls and no one to shop in them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's my guess.
AI shoppers.
That's right. Robot shoppers.
Okay.
It's going to be like the video for
Okay.
Rocket. It's just going to be like robots dancing alone in the
It
wilderness.
sounds like a Star Trek episode for sure. For sure.
And-
There's one where go ahead, please.
Oh, I was just going to ask about we're going to go with your hometown or the one that you're currently living in?
Oh, my hometown. Well, I grew up in Atlanta, so I don't want to spoil what we're going to get into a little bit tonight. Yeah, we're on the fourth space. We forgot to say the name of the show again.
Welcome to the fourth space.
Yeah.
We're your hosts, sort of.
Kind of.
But
yeah, I don't want to spoil it, but we've got author, novelist Jordan Rothacker on, and he's written some novels where like the Atlanta of the future plays a big role. So I don't want to get into that sort of speculation. We've got an expert on that. I feel like this might be a good time to bring on another Georgian that we know.
Sure,
Ian?
pile them in. Come on.
That's it.
Yeah, come on in.
That's right. Ah, yes.
There's room enough for like 18 more, I'd say.
That's right.
Oh, hi, Ian.
How are you?
I'm doing all right, dealing with the Atlanta of the present.
How's that?
Whenever I escape the void.
Okay. And what's that like these days?
Mostly just sitting in traffic. Especially the part of Atlanta I'm in, full. Just full of people who are not paying attention to their driving. The driving is the third most important thing they're doing, as far as I can tell. Whatever they're doing on their phone is clearly the most important.
Yes, indeed. And now, if you want to see what Denver is like, Ian, imagine that, but they don't have you have to wear a helmet if you're on a motorcycle law here. So imagine Atlanta, less people, but less helmets as well. So there's just a lot of people taking their lives in their own hands.
And that just sounded like two
phones.
positives for me for Denver. Less traffic and less rules. Sweet.
Yeah.
I have a question about Athens. Do you guys have those robot cars yet that we are inundated with in San Francisco?
I've seen a
Waymo
of them in Atlanta.
Waymo. I like to call them ghost cars because nobody's driving. It's like a ghost ship.
No, I definitely was in Midtown Atlanta at a nice dinner one night, and I'd had a couple cocktails. I stepped out to have a smoke, and I hear that whirring, electric engine noise sneak up behind me, and kind of look over my shoulder, and it's like the triple take when I realize, there's nobody in that thing.
What the what? Yeah, it's freaky.
It's just Johnny Fiving itself right across town.
I will often be Uber or Lyft driving here in Denver, and there it'll be, the robot that's going to put me out of work. Just
Okay, you've got him there
right by.
too.
Yeah, they haven't started taking passengers yet, and so the ones I've seen have normally had a Waymo employee sitting there, basically to take damage for the car. I don't to tank for the car. I don't know, but something.
Yeah, we see some weird stuff. They get like all bunched up, and sometimes they'll just like if the power goes down, they were just like all in the intersection, dead.
Ooh,
yeah.
Ooh, that's no.
They lost some kind of connection, and so yeah, wacky things like that keep coming up, and it's a learning experience for them. But they're also expanding into Oakland now, and that's going to be fun.
How do you think the people of Oakland are going to put up with this?
Hell no.
Hell no. Throwing bottles.
Just asking for a friend. No reason.
They're going to be dismantled. It's going to be great.
Right.
I'll be right there with them. And that, speaking, it's kind of like the future, robot cars. We're living in the future.
Sure. I'd say so. Yeah. And it won't be long. It won't be. I'm going to have to find a new line of work. So.
It's going to take a while. Don't worry. Yeah, but then, yes, you will.
So, all right, we've, done our little year 25 shtick for long enough. Let's bring on the expert. This sort of thing.
And I just want to say for the audience, please, if you're watching this live, you can comment on whatever platform you're on. And if you're watching this dead, you have my condolences.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yep. God rest your soul. Oh, Jordan.
Hey.
Hey. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Hey, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you on here, man. Yeah. Been a minute since at least 3 people on this screen all lived in Athens together.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, we go way back, buddy. It's good to have you on the show today. We have been enjoying your novel, The Shrieking of Nothing.
Nice.
Immensely.
Thanks.
And
it means a lot.
It's opened us up to basically a whole fictional. I don't want to use this term's overused, right? Fictional universe, right? A little overused, but there's some world building going on in the fiction you've been writing over the past couple of years, and we've been vibing on it hard. So it's great to have you on.
Thank you.
So let's we'll get to the autobiographical stuff later on in the interview. Let's not bury the lead. Your new novel, The Shrieking of Nothing.
Yes.
What did this grow out of?
Well, so it is a sequel, and so it's a sequel to The Death of the Cyborg Oracle. So it is the world building. Those are 2 books of a series. Never thought I'd write a series, but don't have anything against it. It just kind of happened where had an idea for that first book. It was my first sci-fi, really. And just had an idea for that world and kind of like the thematic context of the whole thing. And wrote it. Some people liked it. There were some good reviews. Publisher wanted to see more. So I did a second one. It was, they're both not that long of books, they're closer to, novella really in length. And part of that is just because building out that world, being in that world, it's just such a controlled environment for me as a writer that, what you're getting there is my best glimpses of that world. But so it's not too weird to think of it as world building when there's a second one within that whole domed world that we'll get to. But and that was kind of the fun part, revisiting, going back to a place that I could do a third, a fourth. People who read it often think it could be a series. So even like a television series. So that'd be nice to see others also try to explore that world too. Yeah.
And both novels are about they follow Rabbi Rabinowitz, the spiritual detective, which I love. Yeah.
He's a sacred detective. Yeah. So I'll give the setup to the listeners. So the context of the world of both of these books is that it's 200 years in the future. I started the first one a few years ago. 200 years in the future. It's a domed Atlanta, so it's post climate catastrophe and post the subsequent fall of capitalism. And so people are pretty put off by capitalism, by what our human greed has done to us and the planet. Watching billions of people die has really soured people, really turned their stomach. And literally, there's a kind of, by the 200-year point where we are in the book, everyone's kind of inherited like an epigenetic, trait of this kind of disgust of greed. So it's us at our best, but it's had to be built into us out of, hundreds of, years of tragedy and witnessing tragedy. And so it's a domed world though. And so often people, might describe this book as dystopian. And so it's a weird term to use for this, because inside the dome, there is, no want, because the dome has this, solar power, and so the technology is stuff that I had to really think through to make sense of. And I guess it kind of fits more the speculative fiction descriptor, because it's all technology that's an extension of what we have now. And so the dome itself has, infinite energy running on solar power. So inside the dome, there's no want, there's no hunger, there's no transphobia, there's no racism, there's, so you kind of have this utopic existence. There's no cars, there's no guns inside the dome, but the world of the earth outside the dome is uninhabitable. And there is a scene towards the end of the first book where the narrator, the protagonist, she goes to the edge and gets to look through, and the reader finally gets to see what the world beyond the dome looks like. But it's from just doing the kind of research into climate change and what are some of the awful predictions. But so within this dome, there's no want, and everyone's vegan, everyone's got everything they need. There's no money even, and so it's there's that awful kind of balance where they kind of feel like they're like colonists, on another planet, but on their own home planet.
Dystopia and utopia.
Yeah.
Okay.
I loved how these speculative elements are applied to a setting that we, at least me and Ian, know so well already. So the detail of like that 285 is now a greenway. And then the interstates, I-20 is now a greenway. This place where Ian is shrieking in traffic is now just a place where you can walk or have a garden or something like that. Another one, and I thought this was a great little touch where you talk about like the availability of square footage to do to do an artistic work or something like that. That's the way all the construction is done and stuff like that. And for all these positivist details, the mind, as I read it kept going back to, how did we get here? What terrible thing, catastrophe, K in your case, you spelled with a K, kind of led us here. And I don't know, I'm reminded of the film Interstellar. They don't really explain everything about how we got to the point we are at the beginning of the story. Are you feel that same way about the preceding 200 years setting? Or?
I mean, the way that you've got some like flashbacks in the first one, in Death of the Cyborg Oracle, of kind of the beginning years of getting the dome up and working, and how awful the world was in that. You're pretty much hiding in shadows, and so we've got a little bit of that. Otherwise, I mean, what I've just kind of pictured is, from just the research that I've done, and the just kind of the models of oceans rising, land becoming uninhabitable, drying out, this process happening. I work sometimes as a research assistant for William T. Volman, journalist and novelist. And so his books, Carbon Ideologies, I was the research assistant on. And it's a 2-volume set from him where he goes all around the world doing the field work of talking to people at coal mines and like in Bangladesh, strip mine, and West Virginia, and Kazakhstan for oil. He's going all over for all the different, and he was at the Fukushima meltdown a few weeks after in Japan, looking at our energy needs and, and like the potential of us not responding to the moment as far as climate change goes. And so all that research was there in my head, and these books became how I kind of processed that, and so and more so of like the kind of the relationship of like capitalism to all of it. It was all kind of wrapped up in one kind of conception at once.
Yeah, that this is the first time we've encountered that quote about it's easier to imagine the end of the world than the end of capitalism, as we've been making this series. Did some of that stuff with Mark Fisher, some of that kind of philosophy have an impact on some of your thoughts here? Or?
Well, yeah, that line's Frederick Jameson. Yeah, I mean, like there's also an essay by Walter Benjamin about capitalism as a religion, and so as I said, it kind of all came together in one. That this kind of this green-eyed God, as it's referred to sometimes in the book, of capitalism, and this kind of like offering that most of humanity became to it, and that's what it took for us to learn. That's what it took for us to finally like shake off capitalism, that we had to witness billions of people dying for us to make these and inherit this kind of epigenetic marker against greed that kind of makes us nauseated when we feel greed. That's what it took. So that is kind of the not quite positivist, theme that's going on here. And of course, I wrote the first one. I started writing it in May of 2019, and I finished it in June of 2020. So I'm writing most of it during the beginning of the pandemic. And so watching that high water mark of the first few weeks of the pandemic, where humans were good to each other briefly, and then the urge to go to a Chili's with an AR-15 took over, and watching all that happen really kind of fueled that attitude in this novel, in the first one, Death of Cyborg Oracle, because it had me realizing that like for us to change, it would take a lot to get humanity to make huge changes. And like, I don't mean that as like, I think that's a good thing. I don't want to sacrifice, the globe to get us, but
right. We don't have to sacrifice everything outside the perimeter, surely, to get there. But you start to wonder, like how far down do you go before you end up coming back up, so. And I think there's a big place for that. So what sets this apart from something like Gene Roddenberry or something like that, to me, is your take on the spirituality and religion in the future.
Yeah.
And that is wholly unique. Some of these themes you're hitting on. Can we delve into some of that? I don't want to spoil the book, but I feel like that's just such a big element here. Like these very progressive post-catastrophe people are very spiritual as well. Yeah. Can we talk about that?
And they kind of sum that up and describe that in the beginning of the first one. The first one kind of, brings you in gently into the world. And the setup, the premise, because I always kind of need to have a reason in my head for why the narrator is talking, is that our protagonist, Edwina Casaubon, this is her report. She's this, safety officer, and this is her report and so she's writing to the future. And so what's nice is we, of the past of the narrative of the book, are learning about their world as she tells about their world to the future, also thinking that their world isn't as good as it can be, which is you really get to in the Shrieking of Nothing, the kind of flaws that they have, and that she is talking to the future, being like, hopefully you've figured these things out that we still haven't. But so I mean, it was idea that there was this really great cover of an Adbusters magazine that was sitting on my coffee table that had kind of this Grecian looking, Zeus, carved head that had this kind of neon colors on it. And it said like a new mythology. And I was thinking of that Walter Benjamin essay about capitalism as a religion. And so the idea that the text is that without the abstraction of capitalism in this future, where people are eschewing capitalism because of the greed it leads us to, without the abstraction, we replace it. We've got to replace that abstraction with something. And so we replace it with everyone's believing in their own God. And so what we see is henotheism, that everyone believes in their own God, but they don't deny the existence of others. And kind of monotheism is a bit verboten because it can correspond well with capitalism and do awful things too. So what we see in the book is that everyone just worships their own god individually, and you can switch, whenever you want. And people kind of try to outdo each other sometimes by kind of dredging up different ancient gods from all over the world. There's some people you see who hang out little 5 points in the first one, Death of the Cyborg Oracle, who worship like 20th century fictional gods like Lovecraftian and Arthur Machen and stuff. And so they and they're on this kind of modernist trauma is what they like of the gods. And so so
I think that's just straight. I think that's just straight plagiarism. I'm sorry, Jordan, I'm going to call that out. But if you wander around little 5 points at the right hours, you will find people preaching basically that belief system, just out on the street corner on something 4 a.m, having a good time. I think you were just, out in front of Star Bar one night and picked that up. It's like, ooh, that sounds good. But
that might have been me at some point. Yeah.
You, the people you could run into down there on Euclid, back in the Nuwabians.
Yeah, Kerry Thornley. I used to know him.
There you go. The Zindic cult. Yeah. You'd run into those kids.
But then also the H.R. Bob Dobbs, the Church of Subgenius. There were a lot of
Hail Bob.
Praise Bob.
Yeah, praise Bob. All the slack. I remember one time I was actually coming home from work right through little 5 points, and somehow I do not understand physically how it occurred, but I wound up right in the middle of what's the Indian Festival of the Colors?
Holi.
What's that?
Holi.
Thank you. Yes, I ended up in the middle of the Holi parade. They're throwing around the paint powder everywhere, and it's I'm just sitting here in my Honda, what wrong turn did I do? Right. 5 points is such a wonderful, wonderful place. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, you're kind of tapping into what I have in the future of Atlanta in those 2 books, but also what's in the my realist, novel of Atlanta and Wind Will Wash Away. That book is just kind of steeped in the pluralism that Atlanta just kind of has. So Atlanta is a kind of unique as a city. It's not really on an active waterway river. It comes out of just being a train terminus, and so it's kind of born out of industry, and so it's just kind of in a way kind of a postmodern kind of contrived city, from the beginning. And the kind of internationalism of it has been something that I don't think people talk enough about. I mean, you finally had Bourdain episodes of going to Buford Highway and eating the wonderful stuff there, but you've got a stretch on Ponce where you've got a Hare Krishna temple, and then there's a Lutheran church, and then there's a Coptic Greek church, and there's a synagogue, and it's just this just one little strip of and that's can sum up how Atlanta can be. Buford Highway, the same kind of thing, just kind of the multiculturalism, and it's just kind of all together, and in a weird kind of harmony is Atlanta.
Well, even projecting that into a sort of speculative realm, I feel like it felt real because you didn't make them too much different from the people that are already living in a lot of these areas. And I really liked that.
In the utopian vision of that everyone can pick their own gods and they don't interfere with each other for the most part.
Yeah.
It's kind of fantastic. So your work is rich with references, musical, literary. So I'm curious about names that are used in the book. And so we have Edwina Casaubon. I'm curious if that's a reference to Isaac Casaubon, if there's any.
Oh, no, it's Edwin Casaubon from Middlemarch by George Eliot.
Okay. Yeah. Which was, inspired by.
He's just kind of not great person, failed academic, and he's working on A Key to All Mythologies, is this book he's trying to write that he'll never finish and never write.
Yeah.
And so because of that, she's kind of redeeming the name. Okay. She's a opposite kind of character than him.
My mind went to the same place, Audra. I thought it was a reference to the German publisher of the Rosicrucian Manifest. I think it was who Isaac Casaubon was, right?
The Hermetica.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He was the first one to kind of point out, hey, maybe Hermes Trismegistus wasn't actually a real person, and maybe it's an aggregate And so he had some mind-blowing things about occult thought.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got some Hermes Trismegistus in a book. Sorry, was that Ian?
I was going to say to Audra, I thought that when you were saying that about the naming conventions, that my Bowie sense was tingling.
Yeah.
Instantly upon that comment, because again, like much like with the descriptions of some of the locations, where it took me, like 1.5 instances before, like, wait a second. Like as soon as I start seeing chapter headings,
yeah, let's talk about Bowie. Can we?
Talk a little bit
about Bowie. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the title of the book.
Yeah.
For instance.
Yeah, the first one, I mean, I really liked the death of the cyborg oracle and this kind of very Philip K. Dick kind of sound it has to it, this kind of like bum bum, Otherwise it would have had a Bowie title, and that would have been We Are the Dead, which became a chapter title in there. And then of course Shrieking of Nothing is a line from a sequel Bowie wrote. So this book is my first sequel. So it's titled From Ashes to Ashes, which is a sequel to Space Oddity. And it's also, he references the first sequel in rock music. Peggy Sue Got Married is a sequel to Peggy Sue with Buddy Holly. And so Bowie, in the first verse of Ashes to Ashes, is doing kind of copying on the first lines of Peggy Sue Got Married, making a reference to the first sequel in rock and roll. And then he's doing his own sequel. And so I'm doing my sequel, and I'm Shrieking of Nothing.
That's so fabulous.
I think both Ian and I had the same reaction to the sequel, which is like we realized we were about one act into The Empire Strikes Back, and we're like, crap. All right, we gotta go back and start from the Death of Cyborg Oracle. But even that said, you could start with Shrieking of Nothing. I feel like that the first section of that up until where he says, "Oh, there's a killer on the loose," right? And they step out from the scene, and he says, "Oh, there's a killer on the loose. These things may be related." That first third of the novel is a very succinct description of a world. Like you get a really good idea of what kind of culture it is.
Good, yeah. That's always the worry of writing a sequel, anyway. Is kind of stand on its own.
Yeah.
Well, no worries there as far as I'm concerned. So. So, we first met Jordan at the University of Georgia. We were we've talked about this a little on the show before. We were at a pagan student association back there in the early aughts. Ian would stand on the sidelines skulking at all our woo bullshit. And but we had a lot of fun. And I don't know that we could have had that organization as a real student organization without you supporting us as our faculty advisor. And so that was an interesting sort of way of meeting you. I remember I think you were teaching like Religion 101 courses at the time. Do you still lecture or?
No, I haven't taught in a couple of years. I actually am filling in next week for a comparative literature professor. And it's funny because I haven't taught in 2 years. I was just teaching English. And now next week I'm teaching over 3 days, like 7 different sections, like two classes, well, 3 classes on Tuesday, Thursday, 1 class on Wednesday. And so like I've got like a whole bunch to read. I'm just going to slip into the mind of each class and teach for 2 days and collect my check for helping somebody out. But but yeah, it was fun being I was teaching a class in religion. It was a 4,000 level, like upper level class after I finished my master's, called Paganism and Mythic Literature. And so there were 2 students joined the class who were in the Pagan Students Association. And I had to tell them ahead of time. I was like I tell anyone in any class I teach, no proselytizing, So I had to tell even the Pagan students. But yeah, there was no real worry about that. But yeah, it was a great class, and they were great people. And then asked me if I wouldn't mind just signing forms. So happy to use my faculty weight to sign forms for y'all.
We've had Mark Tippett's on 2 or 3 times now on the show, and he was a member of the group as well. I'm sure you knew Mark a little bit. I've actually been imagining him in my mind as Rabbi Rabinowitz as I've been reading the book. So, so how did you end up in Athens? How did you go from just faculty to novelist? Because when I first met you, you weren't a novelist.
No, I mean, I was actually working on it. I moved to Athens. I did my undergraduate in New York, and then worked at some magazines for a while after I graduated, and started writing And Wind Will Wash Away. So it's a novel of mine that first book I wrote, second one published, and it's coming out later this year. We haven't really announced yet, but this will be the first. But I'm doing a 10-year reissue of the book. So it'll be coming out from a new publisher in November, and pretty excited about that. There'll be a forward by Reginald McKnight, who teaches in the creative writing program at UGA. He was a professor of mine. So pretty excited and stoked to see what he writes in the forward. But so that's the book that brought me to Athens. I moved out. I was looking to do graduate work as research for this book, And Wind Will Wash Away. So I enrolled, was accepted to do a master's in religion at UGA. And so I'd be close enough to Atlanta to get in to do field work. So I grew up in Atlanta, like through late elementary to college, and couldn't really write about Atlanta till college and till living in New York and seeing it from a distance. And so my first novel, And Wind Will Wash Away, is kind of a love letter to Atlanta. And so started writing in New York from a distance, then moved down here to do the master's in religion as research for the book. And my master's thesis is actually 2 chapters of the novel, and then like an exegesis on those chapters. And so I can get into Atlanta for interviewing people and locations and stuff. And then after I just got a little sucked into Athens, and hard to get out. It's a easy town to live in, or used to be. It's not as cheap anymore, but used to be an easy town to live in and a hard town to leave because of either make enough money to leave or the sticker shock once you leave. So I mean, I got finished the novel, but didn't try hard enough to get it published, and wound up eventually going back in graduate school to do a PhD in comparative literature, and then it was publishing things along the way. And then my first book published was in 2015, and so The Pit and No Other Stories. And then Wind Will Wash Away came out the next year, and so like 10 years from when I finished writing it, and was able to do a really great edit at that point. I mean, 38-year-old Jordan was able to really make cuts that 28-year-old Jordan would not have been able to make. And so so
it's a little tighter, I assume. A little bit less wordy.
Tighter. Yeah. And I mean, there was a lot of Faulknerian, Proustian, long, windy, windy, thematically long sentences that got hacked. I trust my wife, implicitly with these things. And so I had her, she did a read, and I just went with all of her suggestions and comments, and anything that made me like cringe, chop, and so, because part of, writing a first novel in your 20s too is, length was a part of it for me, kind of this maximalism, and, feeling like I wrote a big book, feeling like, I'm used to reading Moby Dick and Ulysses, and so I've got to write something that feels comparable in some way. And so, and I would have had I probably could have been talked into making cuts if it got published in my 20s, but I didn't try hard enough to get it published. And so, so 10 years later, it gets published, and I'm able to just chop away at anything that feels cringy or embarrassing, super tighten it up, and get to kind of, like marvel at myself a little bit, and like, not to sound immodest, but it's like you write something, you spend 3 years, you put all this work into it, and then you don't really look at it for me. Those 10 years, I didn't spend a lot of time going back to it. And so you don't really remember on the sentence level a lot of things. You remember scenes. And so, I'm going, I like this. I like this young me who wrote this thing. This feels nice. And so, and then so coming out in like August of 2016 was just rough. It came out like at a weird time, and then like unrelated to, like 5 friends of mine died from September to the end of October of 2016. So his 10-year anniversary is coming up, and then and Trump wins in November, and it's a dark place, The year begins with Bowie dying, and it ends with Trump winning, and so at the time I was just like, fuck it, I'll write more books, just let it go, I'm not gonna force it, so I did write more books, and they've been published and stuff, and so it's thinking of this book and 10 years ago, it's it felt nice to, give it its due again, to let it, maybe finally have kind of a shot to find its audience.
It's interesting. We're sort of looking back in two stages here, because you're looking back on, you published the book 10 years ago, but really the book is about a sort of heightened version of 2003 Atlanta.
Yeah.
Can we I'd like to talk about that a little
Yeah.
bit. This is Atlanta after the Olympics. So urban renewal has cleared a lot of people out of the inner city. But gentrification has not quite taken over yet.
Yeah.
Can you and I'm just kind of setting the stage for you. Can you talk a little bit about that time and what your perceptions were coming from somewhere far more urban?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, like, I mean, Atlanta now, I mean, I know, Audra, I don't know if you've ever even visited, but I mean, Atlanta it's dense. Like, anytime you visit, like, you come back, someone who's lived there, anywhere there was a patch of trees is now the tiniest strip mall you'll ever see, or the tiniest apartment building that's just shoved in there. And it's, so it's just this messier skyline, wherever you go. And 2003 was kind of just perfect in a way for, like, I don't know, setting a detective story, because it's cell phones, but not smartphones yet. You're kind of just on the cusp of things. You've got, post 9/11, but you're kind of like, we're situated deeply in those Bush, war years. And it's it's a weird time. And Atlanta is also at that point where, like, it's not quite the, like, the Yollywood, Hollywood didn't come as hard yet, to Atlanta, and by, 2003. And so it's, you don't have that, like, the super bouginess that you have now. You don't have the super, like, density. I mean, it's always been one of the worst cities for sprawl. I mean, probably for the last, 30 years. I mean, Sierra Club's always got in the top 5, I think. And it's a city, like, try to give the impression of, all those books, that it's 20 counties is considered Atlanta. The metro Atlanta area it goes 21 counties.
It's gigantic.
Yeah.
I was talking about taxi driving earlier, and you really get a sense of how big a metro area is doing that.
Yeah.
So, like, doing that here in Metro Denver, like, it's like one county of the metro. It's like if just Cobb or something was the whole metro. Or if just inside the perimeter was the whole metro. That's what Denver is like. You can get anywhere in like 30 minutes. And I think people that don't live in Sunbelt cities, metros, don't understand that that's not normal. Yeah. Like Atlanta, I mean, you could end up 2 hours away and still be in the metro.
Yeah.
There. It's so huge.
I mean, San Francisco's 7 by 7, it's just, and you got the boundaries of water, pretty much. And
it still takes an hour to cross the city, 7 miles, at least.
Yeah. But yes, I mean, part of one of the, the things about the future Atlanta I gave is that, there's no cars. It's all, there's trams, and they're, Fifth Element-y, they're up and up and down and across. And so they're just kind of everywhere. And so it's never any stagnation of a flow and movement.
I like how the future tram builders, like, they just use the East-West MARTA line from the way you made it sound like they go from Stone Mountain to the West End on the tram in the book. It's just stuff. I don't know. Anybody that's lived in a place, when you see that place as like a fictional setting, I don't know. It just like helps you suspend your disbelief a little more. It makes it more fun.
If you're not from a city, like reading some of that and looking and again, getting that connection to the city I grew up in, the city I live in, it's like, oh, this is what all those people in New York feel like all the time, with all the fiction and media based out of there.
Yeah. Okay, I asked my friends.
You did a way better job with Future Atlanta than Coppola did with Future New York.
I still haven't seen that. I want to see it. I just still haven't. No,
I haven't either. All I keep seeing are these like making ofs, and it'll be like him arguing with Shia LaBeouf, or just like cussing. It
seems like a huge commitment to sit down and watch that.
I don't have days for this. So
No.
I mean, I like the Odyssey. Okay, that was many hours of your life, but whatever.
I mean,
I digress.
The original Metropolis was an inspiration of my future, though, and a lot of the Bowie. If we want to bring it back to the Bowie I mean, that's part of like the reason capitalism with a K, the catastrophes with a K. You've got this kind of modernist Berlin, influence in the kind of the science fiction of the book is coming from that. Audra, what's your favorite period of Bowie?
Oh, thank you for asking. It's Ziggy all the way.
Nice.
And I happen to perform with a group that's called the Church of the Sacred Silver Sexual.
Okay.
And it's the Church of Bowie in San Francisco.
The
And
Church of Man Love.
it's really amazing. It's like all the freaks are welcomed. And that's the most amazing show of the year, honestly, because of all the people that come out. And yeah, my Bowie spidey sense was tingling while I read Shrieking.
Yeah, I wanted to make so it's the idea of too that that's still like within the text of the text that she Bowie is a profane prophet in that future. I guess that's something I've never clarified for the listener earlier. So because of everyone worshiping their own god in this future where it's this kind of hyper religious but individualized future, all crime is divided into sacred and profane. And so Edwina Kosovan has been like a profane safety officer, and now she's been moved up to sacred safety, and she's the understudy. She's the Watson to the Sherlock Holmes meets Moses Maimonides of Thinkowitz, Detective Rabinowitz. So she's making those references in entitling the chapters of her own report with Bowie. So she's conscious of how important Bowie is in her future. So yeah, she's making the references.
And Pretty Thing, Oh You Pretty Thing, to like plays in the novel.
A little bit. Well, yeah, no, it's Life on Mars.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Isn't that? It might also, but there's the thing of Life on Mars. It's mentioned in the first one as kind of being this kind of ironic chant as they're building the dome and still trying to inhabit Earth, while asking, is there life on Mars? Could we go there instead?
Right. That would be apt. But
I guess it's better than 5 years in that situation. So
there you go.
I love it. I'm loving these hunky dory references, guys. That's my favorite one. By far, my favorite one.
It's my favorite album. I think my favorite song, or at least in the top 3, is "Ashes to Ashes." it's a huge one for me. But yeah, hunky dory. I don't know, Low, Heroes, so perfect. And Lodger even.
So Berlin is your favorite era.
I do. Yeah, other than hunky dory is my favorite album, Berlin is my favorite era. Yeah.
You've written about how we could see Bowie's passing in 2016 as a sort of bellwether for a changing from one period to another. And maybe not, as most of us would probably agree, not as good of a period.
No.
Since then. What were some of the things about Bowie's death and about that in general that you felt were so symbolic of that change? Why is that more important than Trump coming down the escalator?
I don't know. I feel like Bowie's death for me was probably one of the first celebrities, people I didn't know, that hit me in a really hard way. It was also I don't know, in 2015, a friend of mine's dad died, a friend of mine's mom died. So it was kind of I don't know, I'm not, being a narcissist, we all have our different paths, but for me, it was just this weird kind of a prelude to a bunch of close friends of mine randomly dying. And then eventually it was 11 people for me died from the end of 2016 to 2019 with my father and then stepmother. And so it was this weird, I don't know, massacre of people I knew that had no relation to each other over a few years, but it's also the age I'm at. And the hard lifestyle that some of my friends have lived. But so, I don't know, Bowie's passing just seemed, I felt it in a way, but then I also just saw so many other people. It was, we've had big celebrity deaths before that felt kind of, global in a mourning, but not in the same way Bowie did. And I don't know, like I was away for the weekend with my wife, and like I had my, phone on my night table next to me, and I wake up and she touched me and she's like, "Hey, before you look at your phone, I want to tell you first,"
Wow.
because she woke up before me and she's, seen her phone. And then after she tells me, I look at my phone and there's just tons of texts from people, all about this and messages. And yeah, and it was just kind of I don't know, you just kind of always expect him to be there, in kind of a different incarnation.
We all grew up with him. I
Yeah.
think that's a huge part of it. And like when Robin Williams died, I felt something similar,
Mhm.
but not as big as Bowie, but
Mhm.
yeah, just someone that's been there your whole life, and you
Mhm.
envision reality through that lens,
Mhm.
and once he was gone, it felt like that acceptance
Mhm.
was gone. That acceptance of the greater
Mhm.
freakazoid, population kind of went away too.
Mhm. And
Yeah,
I think I'm so no, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think one of the things with Bowie that you kind of were touching on is like he was this larger than life character, this shapeshifter, this alien. Like he almost seemed like he should be beyond concepts of life and death. Like he's some sort of superhero that,
Mhm.
this shouldn't affect
Yeah.
him at all. So it did kind of would almost catch you out of the blue. I could
Mhm.
see that certainly as well.
Mhm. And because of all those different periods of music, there's like different contexts for Bowie, I think, that we
Yeah.
have in our life, like I like the Ziggy, like, on a guitar in bands, like I've played Ziggy Stardust more times than I've ever played any other song, and it's, it, it's not even the period I think the most in of Bowie, but it's just, that was a phase of my life, and it's all, consistently,
And everybody knows it.
yeah, it's not going anywhere. Yeah, so I mean, it's and then I feel like what happened was that it kind of hypersensitized us to like a magical being died or something, and then
Yeah.
next was Prince, and then, which is
Yeah.
huge also, and then Alan Rickman, and like, and these kind of, but it just kept kind of feel like it was rolling through 2016.
Dominoes.
Yeah, and then, it's also the age that these people are at, these great musicians, actors from the 60s and after, these older boomers, and so, but it had that feeling with each new kind of like death throughout 2016 that, and then Trump wins, so it's, it felt like some kind of like negative trajectory happening there.
Like you didn't realize Bowie was some sort of albatross upon the neck of humanity now. It's like, no, we let him die. Now we're in for it.
I was definitely feeling those same kind of like, this is a wave goodbye feeling. Like that was the way Black Star was in a lot of ways, especially all the visual presentations of him in that. And I kind of felt the same way about the Twin Peaks, The Return series that came out that next year.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it watching it at the time. And just like with any of David Lynch's other works, I'm just trying to kind of work my way through it. But now looking back, I'm like, oh, this is so much of this is about passing away.
Yeah.
And things passing away and things dissolving and things like that.
The log lady is like, dying while they're making it, and she says goodbye to Hawk and to us in it. And you've got Bowie, who died the year before, and then he's there, as the kettle,
he's steam. He's just ineffable. He's steam, basically. The other FBI agent, Leonard, I can't remember what his name is. He was terminally ill while they were filming it. I didn't realize that. So there was a lot of that going around. Remember they couldn't get the sheriff back. What'd you say?
Miguel Ferrer, the
yes.
He dies, I think, like right after it's done filming. Yeah.
So, and I didn't notice that at the time, but now I'm looking back on that and like, oh, and this was sort of a goodbye to David Lynch too. I feel like David Lynch said his goodbye to the world. He got what's the guy's name? He's the dad in Red Dawn. He's the dad in Pretty in Pink.
Harry Dean Stanton.
Yeah.
I feel like he got Harry Dean Stanton to say goodbye for him to everyone right at that moment. And now I'm looking back and like, ooh, Art hasn't felt the same in the way music hasn't felt the same. Maybe film hasn't felt the same since then. You know,
it's amazing the influence. I mean, it's of course like Twin Peaks is an influence on the detective character. Clearly, and my Wind Will Wash Away book is a big influence on my The Pit and No Other Stories, where it's kind of there's this town with a pit in it that everyone's kind of trying to find from all these different angles. But yeah, I mean Lynch. It's kind of like Bowie in that, you know, that for like, you know, what, 3-4 solid decades, you've got Lynch doing something seminal, you know, being a part of our lives growing up, and yeah, so it's his the Twin Peaks Return. I mean, we're going to be chewing on that for a while. It's wonderful. It's an 18-hour, like, beautiful film.
Dense with meaning.
Yes, very dense.
Yeah.
So The Pit, you said this you wrote it second, it got published first. Is that how this went?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I've had that novel done, and Wind Will Wash Away, and then you know, I'm always writing, I'm always working, and so by the time I finally got The Pit and then Will Wash Away, I had a bunch of books coming pretty fast after that, and people would, you know, very nicely be like, "You're so productive," and I'm like, "Well, I'm, you know, almost 40 and I've been doing this for 20 years. So it's a lot of this stuff is finally just coming out." And so, yeah, so The Pit was, you know, I had these 4 like short stories that seemed like in separate locations that kind of were, you know, connected in my head in some neat, weird way. And I kind of saw where all this was going. But I just had these 4 separate things, and each one had a different location and time. And I was talking with Andrei Kodrescu, the writer. Yeah,
I took classes from him.
Oh, nice. Yeah, he's a wonderful person.
He's fun.
So did you do an MFA at what, LSU?
I did an MFA with Mills College in Oakland, but I did a Prague semester, and the New Orleans University, they were there, and he was teaching classes and drinking heavily with all of us afterwards.
Yeah, as a good professor should.
Yeah,
it's Prague, right?
That's what what writers do, that I guess.
But he, I had written, I'd cited his posthuman data guide in like a paper I wrote that I gave at a conference, and so he was still running The Exquisite Corpse, this literary magazine, and so I sent him. I found his email. And I just sent him the paper, and I got a really nice email back from him that he was stuck in an airport and had my paper to read and enjoyed it and enjoyed being cited in it. And I said, well, you know, I mostly write fiction, even though I'm doing this PhD. That's, you know, how I see myself. And he said, well, The Exquisite Corpse is always open to you. So nice. Very, very nice, sweet thing. And so I sent him these 4 chapters and said it's a novel excerpt, and he loved it, published it. And then, so I think that came out in 2014 maybe. And then 2015, I was talking to a friend who was part of a small press coming out of Orange County, California. It was called 1888. It's not around anymore. Black Hill Press, and they only did novellas, and they published 3 at a time in different, you know, periods around the year. And he had read that excerpt and really liked it, and other people there liked it too, and so they wanted to publish it. And I was like, great. I'm working on writing my dissertation right now, so I'm very busy and can't do anything else. And so then, but I was excited that someone was interested in that book. And then, you know, one day I get an email from them, and in early 2015, and they're like, hey, someone fell out of our next publishing run. So yeah, we'd like to see that book. We'd like to see The Pit and Other Stories. I said, I'll get it to you at the end of the month. And then I wrote 80% of it in a month. I had to tell my wife, I was like, I'm going to take a break from writing the dissertation. I will come right back to it. It's not going to slow down any progress, but they want to publish this book and I have to finish writing it. So yeah, I got out the marker board, charted out the whole thing, all the 18 chapters, all different time periods, locations. And so it reads as if you're reading like a short story collection where, you know, different writing, each chapter is a different location, time period, and writing style of kind of a different trope of American literature. You've got a detective, like a hard-boiled detective story. There's a science fiction, there's a horror, there's a spy novel, there's a nautical tale, there's kind of a Native American folk tale. they all come together by the end. Some of them are red herrings, some connect directly, some are just split in half. But by the time you get to the end, you realize there are no other stories. It's just the pit. And so so I mean, it was great. I mean, it's not terribly long, and so to be able to kind of bring that all together, all those different writing styles, and kind of do like like David Mitchell does in these bigger scale, like with like Cloud Atlas. But it's a book that's kind of like Lost, where everything connects and everyone has a backstory, and some connections are more tangential, or like Twin Peaks, and everyone's kind of looking for this, kind of mythic town. Everyone's looking for this Pittsville place and the pit in it. And yeah, so it all connects. But so he, Andrzej Kojeski published that, and this other publisher liked it, and I finished read the rest 80% of it in a month. And my wife read it. I went out to a bar and sat there. It was like I'm like some Homer Simpson bad husband, and she's across the street in the hospital. I'm in the bar, but she's at home reading the manuscript. I'm in the bar, like drinking, waiting for her. and then finally, like, I get the text. She's like, "I love it. Come home." And so and so it's still her favorite of my books. But it was fun, and it just works and it connects. And it was just kind of like the joy of writing all these different styles, and making all these different time periods and plot lines connect. And and so that publisher shut down operations a few years ago, and so Spaceboy Books, a Bowie reference, who's done now 4 of my books, they picked it back up as a reissue, The Pit, a few years ago, because it would have been out of print. And so John Reed wrote a nice afterword for it. Everett Steele, a friend of mine, he wrote a really neat introduction. And so we got a nice new cover and repackaged it, and little bonus stuff. And so The Pit's still out there. But yeah, so Spaceboy, they primarily do science fiction, but they're now doing And Wind Will Wash Away, even though it's not sci-fi at all. But they're just kind of doing all my stuff now. So I'm very grateful to a publisher that likes to take care of their writers.
Was The Pit your first? So sorry, Raven.
I had very quick comment, Audrey.
Yes,
hold
go.
that thought. I like the new cover,
but
I missed the Pez dispenser.
Yes, it was a great cover.
It was really cool.
Yeah, he was a really great cover designer. Yeah.
Go ahead, Audrey. Sorry.
So in The Pit, I want to read that next, because it sounds amazing that you're using all these different styles within the same novel, or collection of short stories, depending on what you want to call it. It's a novel. Okay. And was that your first foray into sci-fi?
The one chapter that's in there that is sci-fi was my first. Like, it's nothing that, I mean, I'm not. I was a bit of like a lit snob as when I was younger, but I was never like against sci-fi. I probably would have said like, I like Philip K. Dick, whatever is the sci-fi that's passed over into the canon. But no, I don't read as much sci-fi as I do in my other genres. I really enjoyed the sci-fi films. So there's a lot of kind of visual science fiction in my head. But also just the kind of, I don't know, science fiction is also kind of like writing magic realism to some extent. I mean, it's fun, the project, like a controlled world. And some things are just a little more than we have in our own world. So yeah, I'm kind of new to the sci-fi world with those 2 books.
Well, it seems like speculative fiction is really having its moment right now.
Yeah, it's I mean, what's nice about genres is they become these kind of communities.
Yes.
And so like recently I was like, I kind of want to write a body horror, just because there's so many cool body horror writers who I know who are talking about this stuff. I want to be more into that scene. So I started actually writing but I couldn't really do it with humans. I don't know, ever since I had kids particularly, like I'm far more squeamish with like violence and body stuff. So I was writing a serial killer of pets, kind of LA noir. And I let a friend read the first few chapters, and he told me that it's actually, I've never read Infinite Jest, and there's a plot line in Infinite Jest about a serial killer of pets. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to do that now that David Foster Wallace has already done that a little bit. So
seems like that would have been a natural archenemy to Ace Ventura, but amazing crossover potential. Just saying,
that's where the money is.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right. Oh man. We keep talking about these sort of like negative turns, right? The catastrophe that leads to the domed city, the death of Bowie, Trump coming down the escalator. I don't know how you end up on this stuff so much, Jordan, but you've also written about 9/11. You wrote some articles around the 20th anniversary. We've got the 25th anniversary coming up. I enjoyed going back into some of that stuff you wrote around the 20th anniversary. And, over the past couple of weeks, I've just so happened, I think it was just I went down a YouTube rabbit hole and started watching first-person accounts of like people that had survived being in the World Trade Center or whatever. And I just like realized like how it's sort of like studying historiography or something, like how much people's view of this event has changed and how much the sort of narrative has changed over the years with this. Have you tracked any of that kind of visitings?
I kind of was until that. The article you're mentioning was I wrote for Brooklyn Rail for the 20th anniversary, and I don't know. Sometimes when I think about something for a very long time and finally write something about it, it really calms that. I mean, it's like a deep spiritual dopamine hit for a writer where I'm like, I don't think as much about it. And I'm not saying that it's not, of course, worth thinking about. It's an awful tragedy. But yeah, so that piece was me kind of writing about, I started off with kind of the narrative of, where I was on 9/11. And then I got into the more, my favorite kind of fictional takes on 9/11, very literary takes on 9/11. And I mentioned Jared Kobeck's novel Atta, about Muhammad Atta, which is this brilliant, slim book that Semiotex published. And it kind of, he did a whole lot of wonderful research on like into the mind of this guy who was, an architect, student. And in a way, his kind of attack on the West is, very symbolic when you look at, Muhammad Atta, because it's attack on architecture itself, and the, the expression of the West, these World Trade Centers and this kind of the Bauhaus design and this, kind of the metaphor is just, lush, with the situation and with Muhammad Atta. And then there was John Reed's sequel he wrote to Animal Farm, Snowball's Chance, which kind of is this, Snowball comes back after the death of Napoleon, and you have this kind of neoliberalism going on there, and it ends with a World Trade Center attack type thing on the twin towered windmills that they have. And so like those are two books that like I really loved, and they're just strange things to talk about in process. And there was that show that was happening at the time of The Looming Tower, which was the kind of the FBI report about 9/11 that they made the TV show about it. And so, so I wrote this essay for Brooklyn Rail of kind of about the three of them and comparing them and kind of like the different takes that we get, and then kind of some Sontag there at the end. But yeah, it was kind of so you read that on my website. But it's It helped calm down my various thoughts about 9/11, bringing all that stuff together. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we won't push you in that direction then. The dopamine is 5 years in the past.
Yeah.
So, but I totally get that, where you have something and you just can't stop thinking about it. And then once you get it down on paper, once you get it kind of laid out, it's like, sort of this sense of being able to walk away from it and integrate it into yourself, maybe a little bit better. So,
and especially publishing something makes it weird, because it's like, I mean, we all have that to some level now with like social media, like it's not real unless I told, TikTok, unless I told the world through social media, right? Like it's, that makes people accountable sometimes. It helps hold people to things, when I quit drinking, each anniversary is a nice thing to post. And, you got, a couple hundred people saying, congratulations, those kind of things. And so, but also when you publish something like a magazine, it's literally in a print magazine, that's sometimes like solidifies the thoughts and makes it even feel more real, that like you said something, and even if it's, not something huge, not something that's, widely read, but like you feel like, all right, this thing that's been brewing in me, I've articulated it, and others heard it in some way and published it.
Somebody thought it was good enough to put in a magazine. They had to print that. Do you know how much printer ink cost?
Yeah.
They spent real money to get your words out to people.
That truck had to drive that thing. I mean, it's an amazing thing.
Right? There's a whole industry behind that thing.
We
mean,
downplay that now, but the cultural value of that 10, 20, 30 years ago, unimaginable. Yeah. I mean, this is what dreams are made of. And it's like I said, in the digital era, it's easy to dismiss that. But dude, if you went back to your 18-year-old self and said, oh, you're going to do this and this and this, you'd think, oh, I made it. I'm going to make it. I'm going to be okay. So.
Are you still writing for Spin?
Yeah, whenever either there's something that really they need, like they kind of hired me a few years ago as their man in Georgia and had me on the Young Thug trial for a year and a half. And so it's if there's something that they need, or if there's something that like I just get really interested in and really kind of passionate about, I pitch my editor over there. But so it's funny because I've only done maybe like a handful of maybe 5 or so articles for Spin, but 2 of them have been Bowie. So
yeah.
That's it's going to be part of that conversation of interviewing Carlos Alomar and becoming and seeing them in Berlin last November, hearing Heroes in the city in which it was written by the people who wrote it and played it the first time around the corner from Hansa Studios was truly amazing.
Fantastic.
And then the next day, my wife and I went to the ruins of the wall and we kissed by the wall, took a picture, just like in the song. And yeah, it was wonderful. I mean, like, especially like Ashes to Ashes too. It started with this like extended piano part, and of the band he put together, his daughter's a backup singer and his son-in-law is the piano player. And so, I mean, Ashes to Ashes was just gorgeous. And yeah, I mean, they're the damn trio. One of them has passed away, but 2 of the remaining Black American rhythm section core that Bowie used on his best stuff, really. And, his longest, touring band. And Carlos was his band leader, and to hear about what that's like to be, where he's like, we got horns. And so he's not just a band leader, he's an arranger. And so, he's telling me, he's like, you got horns. So if we're going to do Ziggy Stardust, I got to redo Ziggy Stardust to have horns in it, like this. You're not just having musicians hang out there on the, the dollar, not making any, doing any work. And so, yeah, to hear his tales of like, of the different tours and the different shows and, yeah, kind of, and the way they would work together. Yeah, it was really wonderful. Like I sent him a copy of The Shrieking of Nothing when the book was done to get him to blurb it. He wrote me back a really nice email that he actually didn't have time to blurb it, but that it was he's excited about the book, and because when I told him the title of it when I first interviewed him, he just immediately sung it. The Shrieking of Nothing. I tell him The Shrieking of Nothing, and he goes, "Is killing," and he just he sung right into Ashes to Ashes. I mean, he's the one who wrote that riff. I mean, that's him playing on Scary Monsters. So yeah, so it's writing for Spin these days has been me living my 90s teen dream. But sadly, it's only in print, I think, quarterly, and so I haven't had anything in the print yet. But yeah, one day I'll bring both those dreams together.
I feel like this is, Audra, like the second episode we've done lately where there's been this sort of like unintentional sort of ghost that's sort of hanging over the narrative as we talk. It was River Phoenix the other week.
Oh yeah.
And this week it's Bowie.
Yeah.
Not just how much we like him, but his memory and what that means, and
what he symbolizes for everyone.
That's right. That's right. So, we started talking about what your hometown's going to look like in the year 2025 or 25 or whatever. And it's funny, you've written all these fictional versions of 2 different now fictional versions of Atlanta. But you've also nowadays in modern times or more contemporary times have found yourself writing about the real Georgia for Georgia Insider. And that seems like such a, let's hire the sci-fi guy that writes sci-fi Atlanta to like get into tort reform, this or in the Georgia General Assembly or whatever. What is that like? I mean, is that a new area for you to be delving into, or? I
mean, it was a short-lived magazine. It made it 3 months. Okay. It's not around anymore. Sorry. I mean, the beauty of writing is that you can go anywhere with it and do anything. So like I've pretty much done every form of writing professionally. And so I've done academic writing. I've been a copywriter and brand strategist for over 10 years now. That's where the money is when it comes to writing. I've done journalism, newspaper and magazine. I've done this kind of that kind of journalism. It was neat though when I got hired for that gig, because it was to become like a beat reporter. It's like, I want 3 articles a month from you about a topic relevant to Georgia industry and policy. And so it's like, all right, I can read anything and learn anything and spit it back out in a artful way that fits the audience. And so like it was another fun writing experience. I mean, the magazine
Any
I started.
broad discoveries during writing those articles?
No, I mean it's neat reading. It was neat reading like the legislative documents. It's a fun jargon. Like that's one of the things about. I mean, I haven't spent a lot of time with sci-fi, but I just enjoy like jargon of different things. So, like a medical journal manual, the different, legal writing, just these kind of different styles of writing. And they kind of all respond, we can, use in different ways. I mean, that's why Ulysses is such a fun novel, that each chapter is in these different kind of concepts of writing and style. And so, yeah, it was just another, all right, this is what I'm doing now. I'm a beat reporter covering from the courts to the tort, from what's happening with torts to what's happening down at the ports. Yeah. So.
Well, I love technobabble too, and procedural stuff too. And I think you did, going back to your novels, I think that's a great element of all those things, because it doesn't require you to know what tachyons are or whatever. So,
yeah, I mean, that's the thing about like, you've got full control when you make up a world yourself. When you do sci-fi, when you make up a world, you can do anything, but then you have to be consistent to the world you're making. It develops its own rules, like as the human mind likes a system. And so when you start making a system, like with anything, like with coding, like anything, it's a grammar, and it starts the own rules develop out of it. And so in some ways it's easier, in some ways it's harder. And so with realism, you just could look out the window, you can look at maps, you can use that, but then again, you have to be faithful to that reality, or whatever changes you make to that reality have to be consistent. So it's like I've taught writing, many years, many different classes, different schools, and what one of the things that I experience as a writer is that it's all comes from the same place. Whether I'm going to write a poem or a brand book or a piece of journalism, it's you figure out the context, your audience, the style, the tone, and then what is it? What am I doing with that? Is it a short story? Is it a novel? Is it branding? Like it's all writing. And once you feel comfortable with it, then it's fun to go into all those different styles and worlds.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having us in class today, Professor. Appreciate it. And faculty advisor as well. It really has been great. And man, have I enjoyed digging into your novels.
Wonderful.
Guys, do we have any final questions for Jordan today?
I'm just going to say, if anyone's watching and they want to ask a question, now's the time, as our time runs out.
Not so much a question as so much a request, like in that sense of
request.
The good sci-fi writers,
Freebird,
being sort of the R&D of humanity. You incept the ideas out to the rest of humanity, and then somehow we just stumble upon it as though you did something in the Notebook. But in that sense, if you could just keep putting down on paper the destruction of I-285 in any way, shape, form, and fashion that you can. Just repurpose it, make it a greenway, make it a Canadian goose reserve, whatever you want to do with it. Just keep putting great alternative ideas for that godforsaken stretch of asphalt out into the universe.
Incantations, alchemy, whatever I can do.
Yeah,
that's right.
Let's build the reality from the text.
Like all they had to do was have Patrick Stewart hold that little pad 100 times. And then now we have iPads. And you could do that with 285. That's what I'm saying.
Just a green space. Yeah.
That's all we're saying.
With running.
Yeah, we just need a bigger belt line. Just move it out a little bit. Just
Well, I mean, that's Houston, where like there's another, extra outer perimeter around a center perimeter.
As someone who
Atlanta
is
talked
from
about that.
Houston originally, like, no, I don't want to go that direction.
Yeah.
Like, Houston's just a giant, like one of those old Tex Avery cartoons where it's the same background going by over and over again infinitely. That's all Houston is. Just that endlessly church, hospital, strip mall, the occasional school thrown in there. But yeah, no, don't put Houston on us. We don't want
I've heard
that.
the same exact thing about Phoenix, that it's just endless. It's like Cobb County forever.
I mean, that's Atlanta, but Atlanta has trees. And so it doesn't look as bleak because
It hides a lot.
Yeah.
Like Piedmont.
The trees do a lot of work.
Yeah.
I mean,
Jordan, where can people find you? And I mean, obviously, we can get your novels on any bookseller.
Yeah.
But what about your online presence? Do you have any place you'd like to send people? Or
well, I mean, they're local independent bookseller. They might have it on the shelf. If not, they can order it for you, and that helps everybody. It's a royalty to me. It's a cut for that bookseller, cut for the publisher, and you get to support your local bookseller. And I mean, I think that's a win-win for everybody. If you don't have a local bookseller, there are independent online. It's killing me right now. The wonderful good rival to Amazon book. I don't know. Maybe you could.
I read on Kobo. Kobo
well, there you go.
Rakuten. Yeah. If you want to get out from under the Kindle ecosystem. So,
Nice. Yeah. All right. Well, it's wonderful talking to y'all.
Great to have you on today, Jordan.
So nice
All
to
right.
meet you.
Yeah.
If you've enjoyed our conversation tonight, you can, if you're listening out there in internet world right now, you can join us in our Discord channel for a little bit more post game conversation if you're into that. So if you're not already if you're not already subscribed to our Discord channel, just send me a comment or whatever for wherever you're watching right now, and I'll send you an invite link.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I guess that's going to do it for us tonight on the Fourth Space. My name is Raymond Wiley.
I'm Audra Wolfman still.
I'm Ian.
And I'm Jordan Rothacker.
Yes, you are.
Thanks for having
Good job, Jordan. Hell, yeah. He's a pro. We'll see you next time.
Bye.